Hello there, Internet, and welcome to the Awakening Legends of Runeterra Seasonal Tournament for the EMEA region. I'm Magua, joined by Panda. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Great to be back in a seasonal tournament, especially one as important as this one with Worlds qualification coming up very soon. Players are doing their best, are trying their hardest to make it to this point and to try and maybe even go for that top 8 like some players will have to do to try and make it to Worlds qualifiers.
I know we have a common narrative at the beginning of these tournaments. We're always saying how stacked they are, but today it's more real than ever because today we really see the fruits of what is essentially having everything on the line. Like the importance of this tournament in order for World qualification is above others, and we have a very stacked lineup. And some players that we thought qualified after having a 7-2 performance in the qualifiers and a really high placing on the ladder, but being barely left out, like our fellow Spaniards, Sir Donald. So it's going to be like we pretty much recognize almost every single name in the top 32, and it's just going to be, as usual, cutthroat. As round one, half of these players are going to be eliminated, and that's going to be sad, and we're going to make for a very exciting show nonetheless. So I don't know, it's going to be really tight today. For sure.
One thing, of course, Magua, as always, I'm going to even get ahead of you asking me what the seasonal tournament is and just get right into it. Explain to our viewers who might be new to competitive Runeterra and want to find out, what this tournament is, what it means, and why we're talking about, World qualification and what all this means in kind of the bigger picture. Seasonal tournament is the end of every season in Runeterra, usually a 2-month window where players are able to compete on ladder through gauntlets and then eventually qualify into the open rounds tournament, which happened yesterday. It's all in one weekend now, and that is going to be 1,000 or so players competing for just 32 spots in this tournament, in the top cut, which is what every competitive player is aspiring to every single season. You either make it with a 9-0 score, one player is able to do that, and that just means pure dominance in the open rounds. An 8-1 score, which a few players can do, but the most likely is always that 7-2 score line. Yeah. Now, many players can get that 7-2 score line, and the tiebreaker comes off of the ladder ranking. The top ranked ladder players have the chance to actually make it through a 7-2, and many others, as you're mentioning, like Sir Donald, actually could not do it despite being 28th on ladder in this season. So it all comes down to grinding throughout the season, making sure you're in those top spots on ladder to have that 7-2 tiebreaker working in your favor, and then qualifying to today's tournament, the seasonal top cut, a 5-round single elimination tournament where 32 players start, but after just one round, it's already down to 16. After 2 rounds, we're down to 8. It's always jarring for both of us how quickly these players disappear and really don't have a chance to compete further after just one round loss and just a best of 3 in a card game. So it is a cutthroat tournament. There's no space for mistakes. If you make a mistake at this level, especially in this tournament today, you're most likely out of contention and maybe even can't even make it into Worlds to further the season.
Tough for the competitors, great for us and our entertainment, as we're going to be looking into the prize pool, as we're going to see how much is on the line. The champion will take home $10,000 US, as the runner-up will take up $3,500. God, we got my English good there. $800 for the semifinalist, and then for the quarterfinalist, $400. As every single competitor today will be taking at the very least $150 home.
Look at the schedule for today. This is, of course, going to be one of the key things about Runeterra is that we have an in-game tournament client. That means that we are at the mercy of this client.
No delays.
All powerful and all, usually very good for us as well, because that means no delays. Everything is running on schedule. But that means that pretty much every new round will start in 1-hour increments. Starting at 1 p.m. CEST, we will have the first round starting up with some delay, of course, due to the delay on stream. And then we will have 1 hour after that, the next round. And sometimes if matches end very quickly, we'll have a big gap and a bigger break between rounds. But most of the time, it comes down to the final wire, comes down to the last maybe 10 or 5 minutes, a small break, and then the next round coming up. So overall, if you're going to be going away for a snack, whatever it is, you know that every single hour increment from 1 p.m. onwards, we will have a new round of Runeterra waiting for you.
Take a screenshot of this, and that way you won't miss a game. Let's take a look. Yeah, no, right? The life hack. We got the top 32 here. Let's take a look at the bracket and the competitors who will be fighting for glory today. As we can see, it is stacked, and we know a lot of names. I recognize the vast majority of them, actually. We got Center Rock right there against Robomaster. We got Painas representing Spain, facing off against Noatix. Aragorn, Akare, Shunpo from the LFR. I keep forgetting what that team name is.
Yeah. One of the top French players.
Against the champion, against the world champion. Really excited to see Alan make it to this seasonal. He missed out on qualifying in the prior seasonal, and that was a bit of a sad moment because I love seeing the world champion go at it. And it's going to be very exciting to see how, if he changes up his lineup from what he brought in the qualifiers, which we were talking about earlier, is expected to be the go-to lineup, or at least the lineup to counter today, in which, because things change from the qualifier environment to a top 32 environment with a single elimination. You can be more aggressive with your targeting. And but if we do see a standard lineup, it's going to be the one that Liquid AlanZ brought. On the other side of the bracket, we have Broken Ball against Flaxout, Italy versus France right there. We got Spikes versus Gouda. We have Awit Soleil. Well, I'll never be able to pronounce his name properly. Jinden. Like I said, I know all these guys. They've been at it again and again.
Well, on the top, one of the top German players at the very top of the bracket. Ultraman, one of the top players from Belgium, and just overall top players in ladder and in tournaments. The one player that we don't see here that seems to have not quite made it is Badge Attack, a player that I thought had made it, but maybe also due to the crazy cutthroat cutoff this time around.
True.
Is no longer in the seasonal.
What happened?
To see in every single tournament. I think he went 7-2, but maybe just didn't have the cutoff this time around.
I
big shout out to Ghoster Driver, the player that went 9-0 yesterday in the open rounds. Always an incredibly hard thing to do against a very stacked field. 9 rounds of single elimination essentially is, very, very tough. But in this case, Ghoster Driver was able to do it and is going to come into this tournament with a whole lot of confidence, knowing that yesterday he did really well. But top cut is a different beast, Mogwai. Sometimes players will change their lineup. Depending on open rounds, you want to have a more generically good lineup. You're able to face against not bad players, but maybe not, the absolute excellent players you face in top cut.
Gotta keep it.
You want to have a more open kind of lineup that can just do well against everything. And then in top cut, that's where kind of more strategy comes into play, where players are trying to say, hey, these are the top players. What are they trying to bring? Am I trying to counter them? Am I trying to soft target certain things? Am I trying to just ban the strongest deck like Nami TF, for example? It's a little bit more strategic. Also a little bit dependent on the seeding and who you think you're facing in the first 2 rounds of the bracket. For some players more than others, especially in this tournament, the $10,000 prize pool is great. Winning seasonal is great, but some players are really just aiming for getting to the top 8, getting to the top 4 to get those points for World qualification. I know in the case of Alan, for example, he needs to make it to the top 8, so he needs to make it, I believe it's maybe top 4. Might need to win 3 rounds to actually make it to World qualifiers.
What I'm really intrigued is in such a stressful environment and when there's so much on the line, how much targeting are we going to see, if any? There's different forms of targeting with your lineups. You can go soft targeting or you can go hard targeting. You can design a lineup that's specifically made to counter a deck. But if you don't run into that deck, then all of a sudden you can have a very weak strategy going and you can just get eliminated, right? So it's going to come down to, how that plays out. And I think at least from Alan's side, there's a pretty standard lineup, but there's a change in the last deck right here from what he played prior. As we can see there, AlanZ playing Lee Sin Akshan, Nami Twisted Fate, Heimerdinger Jace facing off against Shunpo, who's running Yasuo Katarina. Probably not the right regions displayed there. Should be Nox instead of Demacia. We got Annie Jin and Lee Sin Nami.
And Mogwai, this is what some players were very, very scared of. Going into open rounds, you bring Nami, it's by far and away the strongest deck and strongest champion in the game right now, as it has been in the past in certain metas. But players were always scared of players that are just, going all in, trying to directly try and counter this Nami deck. And it is one of these scary matchups where all of a sudden Shunpo decides, hey, I'm going to be the bad guy in this tournament. I'm going to bring the Yasuo Katarina. I'm going to bring
Yasuo Katarina's the bad guy? What? He's the hero.
From AlanZ,
we don't deserve him.
Not from our perspective. I'm all for it. I'm all
God.
for Yasuo in a seasonal top cut. I'm talking from the perspective of top players that are bringing the 3 best decks in the meta right now lineup, which is the case for Alan mostly, outside of the Jace Heimer. This is the lineup that maybe they were scared of facing. They were scared of players that would take the risk of bringing this lineup and trying to do well with it in the top cut.
I'm intrigued. Like I'm not exactly sure how Yasuo Katarina matches up against a high-level Nami Twisted Fate. The stuns can come into play a lot against Lee Sin, for example, but it doesn't feel like this is the best overall matchup for it. Yasuo Katarina has been a deck that's been performing extremely well as of late, and we're going to be venturing here into game 1, and there it is with the Wincept Hillock, and we're going up against, of course, Nami TF with Shadow Isles.
This is a deck that has just very good matchup tables against some of the strongest decks in the current meta, which is why it's being brought here and why it's gained a lot of popularity in the past few weeks on ladder. Also, Katarina matches very well against your Pantheon, matches very, very well against Lisa and Nami. So overall, we'll see how it'll do in a tournament setting. We talked about it. Ladder stats don't always mean everything in a tournament setting. Some of the, the skill at which these players elevate some of these decks makes it so that some matchups are completely different. But for the most part, I do think the Yasuo Katarina here should be favored for Shunpo.
We see Poseidon Disciple drop down turn 1 for Alan, and it gets quietest immediately. Poseidon Disciple is a 1-drop that we're going to be seeing a lot today, ladies and gentlemen. And a 1-drop that not only enabled Nami, Twist of Fate, and other Ionia decks to thrive, but also is insanely good for Yasuo Katarina because it replaces the Mourn for a card that allows you to cycle through your deck in this never-ending engine. That also helps you level up your main champion. As down goes Feyblade Twirler facing off against the Coral Creatures, who generates another out of the main deck Quietus, already a card that is run as a 3-of in most of these Shadow Isles variants. And a great card to have that can just immediately knock out this Feyblade Twirler for just 1 mana here.
Skill diff, Mogwai. This is what talking about. When I was talking about the best players elevating these decks, this is what I meant. The quiet is being generated. Of course, the graphical error here should be flipped. The players are, of course, AlanZ should be playing the Nami deck, and it should be Shunpo on the Katarina. Hopefully that can be fixed very, very soon.
Not today. Am I gonna see AlanZ playing Yasuo? Unfortunately,
maybe World Mogwai.
I like that Arachnoid Sentry played vibe way. That was a very good call by Alan. Essentially playing around the Quietus by getting the boost happening because Quietus is a slow speed spell. So Shunpo had no way of chaining that, and now Faye is out of its range. And even though we've already seen one, there's no reason why there should be a second one in Shunpo's hand. So that call right there, which may not seem as intuitive, really allowed this Feyblade Twirler to stick on the board and start snowballing and threatening with that big power, combined with the quick attack keyword. Double Vial Feast drawn by Shunpo here as he's building towards those Burble Fishes, but no champion yet.
I know you're a player, Mogwai, that has played a decent amount of Yasuo Katarina in the past. You are a Yasuo enjoyer, as I think everyone on the...
I played it before it was cool. I know that Jay Sensational guy likes to say, I'm the Yasuo guy. I was the Yasuo guy before you were even born, buddy. I got to Masters in the Rising Tides meta with Yasuo Katarina, and we had no Winsep Hillock, all right?
Thank you for sharing, Mogwai.
Yeah. It has to be known.
Now that it is known now, I will ask you the question, how does this deck, what's the kind of the gameplay function for this deck? What is the mission now in the mid game for Yasuo Katarina, outside of the matchup itself, just in general?
You got to build up your Yasuo level up, because when you level up Yasuo, your Wincept Hillock starts essentially eliminating the strongest unit on the board every single turn, right? Especially combined with a leveled up Katarina. So right now you got to focus on trying to apply pressure with your Feyblade Twirlers, and you gotta, especially in this particular matchup, you gotta try to use your early game to deal as much damage as possible and try to force your opponent to react to your board so that you have enough tempo to set up the Wincept Hillock and go for the Yasuo control late game. The problem is we're facing off against a Shadow Owls variant of Twist of Fate Nami, which means that because of the Shadow Owls Region Splash, you have access to a full set of Vengeance. Not only that, but you have the Shadow Isles Tellstones as well, which can lead to a crumble. So this deck has a very easy time eliminating Yasuo, more so than just Ionia versions, right? So that's going to be the bigger issue here for Shunpo. Like you've mentioned, like Twist of Fate, Nami, Yasuo could have the matchup advantage, but it depends on what region is being combined here. And the removal is just really, really extremely available here for Alan, and we already see a Vengeance in hand, and it's just the beginning. Like that, even that Zap Sprayfin could draw into a Tellstones that could lead to a crumble as well. So keeping Yasuo alive is going to be difficult. And he's low on cards as well. Mm-hmm. Like if you realize, like he's already down to, like obviously he has a lot of momentum going on the board, right? But there's just 2 cards. I thought there were 3, but there's just 2 cards in hand. Oh.
seem to have some problem with
we have some yeah, I was wondering, like, yeah, because there was a third card and it disappeared and it was frozen. So we're having some technical difficulties. We'll be right back with you. In the meantime, you can enjoy us talking about card games and stuff. Yeah.
We can talk now a bit about the meta because we haven't had a chance to talking about the players. We haven't had a chance to see deck lists either from that first matchup because we got right into it right away. But I think everyone knows Ionia is incredibly strong right now. Both Lee Sin and Nami, of course, Nami with TF, or in some cases, some mono Nami was being played as well, just with better spells being played in the open rounds. And then Lee Sin usually paired with Nami, but in this case, you're trying to split up those champions to have two strong instead of just one in the format we have now for Riot's tournaments, in the seasonal tournaments especially. And that will be Lee Sin Akshan as the second, maybe strongest deck in most of these lineups. Third deck is Fiora Pantheon. The buffs of Fiora now makes us a Pantheon, and Faded is back into the mix of things, with Camphor in the mix as well, with Eula as a support card as well. An overall deck that some people were very tired of back when Yumi was a thing with Pantheon, now is back, maybe in a better version even right now.
I think it's healthier overall, and we are back. But yeah, speaking about that real quick, just I do like seeing Camphor back in, or like not back in, and like actually being a card and relevant and things, as we are going to see a Quiet as they're being used to remove the equipment that was equipped onto the Fabled Twirler. We did miss that play, as we see the Windswept Hillock has already been developed, and Shunpo is well spread out here, as Alan can start attempting. Alan is the one playing Yasuo.
So maybe it was the graphical error.
It was the graphical error. Alan is bringing Yasuo. Oh my god. Oh my, I never thought this day would come.
Like, we were talking about
Alan playing Yasuo.
Like players like Shunpo being the ones trying to risk it and try and counter that Nami. Instead, it is Alan actually taking the strategy, thinking that I only need to make it to the top 4, top 8 to get that World Qualification spot. I'm gonna try and do it, matching up against Nami in 3 different rounds.
Alan has a key. I repeat, Alan has a key, as we're gonna see Shunpo play. I assume this could be a Vengeance, or we can't really see Shunpo's hand from this perspective, but we can speculate. You know, it's gonna be an Absorb Soul onto the Spiderling, knowing that this kind of play won't be disrupted. With only 3 cards in hand, you don't want to waste a stun or any sort of like a Nopify even onto this. Gonna heal up. Still have a lot of blockers, but most of them are elusives. You know that Yasuo struggles with just dealing direct damage, right? You got to worry about the rally effects, but that's only going to really happen if you leveled up Katarina, which hasn't been the case here. Iron Nagagaporo's doing Iron Nagagaporo's things, which is allowing you to spawn a blocker at burst speed while you refill your hand. Pretty good card, in my opinion. As here we are back at it. We see both hands, and this is what I was talking about, man. Vengeance and double Tellstones, 3 sources of removal for Yasuo. Even though Shunpo is out of range from killing him this turn, which could be relevant, it'll be knocked out next round. No champion still for Shunpo here, though. Panda, you're muted, I think.
I am back now. One thing to note, Mogwai, from the past seasonal, we have fixed the small issue we had with the overlay. Now we are no longer covering the Oracle Eye, so viewers are able to see what kind of damage is being done before it's actually accepted by the players.
Gonna be using that to preserve the Arachnoid Sentry. Alan is still trying to preserve their board. There's a Mark of the Isles. Shunpo is thinking about using a Mark of the Isles to remove what I assume is the definitely Twirler. Yeah, it could be on the Zap, exactly. Yeah, eliminating one Fabled Twirler is a very big deal here. It seems Shunpo is on his way to stabilizing. Alan has run out of gas, has a Yasuo in hand and a Ravenous Flock, but that's just nothing compared to the might of Shelly. Shelly with the Tellstones in hand, with that Yedison. Reporting for duty. Well, that road ain't gonna be somewhere you like. Yasuo, this is not looking good for
there is one
the Samurai.
Palm available for one stun at the very least, but a lot of elusive damage coming in. 14 HP on the Nexus for AlanZ Q. Very smartly takes the hit before any other spells can be played. You accept before your opponent has a chance to add more spells to the stack.
Yep, very, very good call right there. I definitely would go for a Vengeance here. They're down to 2 cards, so if you get a counter out of them, then you can just enable it for next round. You still have the ability to potentially kill something at fast speed with the Shadow Owl Stealth Stones. You could go for the Spirit Journey. Instead, Shunpo is going to actually develop a line. This is a bit of a risky play because what if AlanZ is a madman and is running intimidating roar? It just knocks his board out.
Well, it's enough that AlanZ is playing Yasuo. Okay, don't go too far.
Okay. One can
you
dream.
Can't ask for so much.
One can dream. Just leave me be. Vengeance goes down, and now in response, we're gonna see. Interesting to see the Concussive Palm onto the non-elusive unit. I don't know why you wouldn't target the Burblefish, right?
Maybe assuming that the blockers are going to have to come in here with 8 HP on the Nexus with the Yasuo now. Going to be killed off, of course, but we have the 3-2 coming in as well. And no mana available for Shunpo for this upcoming open attack. AlanZ essentially thinking, hey, there's going to be 1 stun coming in on the Shelly. There are going to have to be blockers. I'm going to have better combat traits.
Good top deck.
With only these Burblefish here to block. Whisper Words comes in as well. Able to refuel, so important at this stage of the game where you really need to do so. You can't develop, though. We have triple double trouble in hand for Shunpo. He has ways to create more blockers.
But there's a Katarina. Katarina is extremely tempting because
That's
the Katarina does not get stopped. It may force a Spirit Journey. Very likely will force a Spirit Journey out of Shunpo.
For sure.
They're gonna go in with the stun. Wow, he's going for blood.
He's trying to get the win here. He knows that maybe the next attack token turn for Shunpo would be too dangerous to survive, considering his hand, considering his options, although his palm could have been used defensively next turn. In this case, looks like trying to go for the win. If Spirit Journey is used early here,
Spirit Journey could be used onto the Fateblade Twirler, but I don't know why you would use it now. Oh, yeah, you're using on your own unit. Ooh, what a play. What a play. But now Katarina goes down. The problem is you're really vulnerable to an open attack. You can, however, use the Blade's Edge onto the other Burblefish and eliminate it. One less blocker and one less open attacker. Yeah, like this is really important here.
And one of these double trouble units cannot block. It is, of course, going to be the Watchful Idol cannot actually get the block off here. So a lot of damage being committed here. Exactly.
That's lethal. Oh my God. That's the Watchful Idol roll.
And Shunpo, unfortunately, will take the game loss here.
Wow.
Yasuo Katarina doing what it should be doing in Alan's prediction. It was the reason why he brought this deck to tournament today, to try and feast on these Nami decks. A lot of tempo, a lot of, very hard to deal with these early Blade Twirlers coming in. We saw it very early being developed, and we saw why it was such a massive threat.
Yasuo Katarina taking down Nami Twisted Fate. Was it a good lucky game for Alan, or was it a evidence essentially of this deck just being amazing and having been slept on for quite some time? And now we're going to be going to round 2. Alan is bringing Annie Jin. I'm a little bit nervous about Annie Jin because I've heard the tales that it was quite the underperformer in the qualifiers. A lot of people bringing Annie Jin actually dropped out because of the deck. It struggled quite a bit, but if Alan is bringing it, he must have a good reason for it, and we're going to be seeing a really strong opener here. Legion Regard into Boom Crew Rookie, forcing the double trouble from Shunpo. Normally a Nami player wants to wait until turn 3 to play double trouble, so they carry over the spell mana and start progressing towards Nami's level up, but because of the momentum that Alan is threatening Shunpo with, they are forced to develop this double trouble early and gonna delay Nami's level up at a price to pay to not take a bazillion damage. Turn 2 is ultimately worth here, as now we can expect an open attack into a pass from Shunpo to try to build up that spell mana.
Very big that the Boom Crew Rookie is able to survive that first attack. It's a unit that kind of has to attack at this point, but in this case, able to survive for a second skill proc and a second amount of damage coming in as well.
That card does not see play regularly in Annie Jin. That's what was he called? The student?
The Mana Soul student?
The Mana Soul student, I believe. The 3-drop, that is a really dope addition. That one got cut off early on.
Early on, yeah. Very.
Yeah. Really
Although
cool to see
Anyjin
it.
as a deck, Anyjin has been always very divisive. It was, I think, surprisingly hard to play. People early on did misplay with it a lot. It wasn't just an aggro deck like many thought at the beginning. And now it's being, used in a way where it just fits in a very specific goal you're trying to achieve in this lineup for Alan and what the matchup tables are right now in the current meta. This is already becoming a scary attack. Shunpo gonna have to block off most of these units. But the hand for Alan, not looking great for the next few rounds.
Yeah, it's the kind of hand that you want to see when the game is almost over, like when you've dealt enough damage. But these back-to-back double troubles have allowed Shunpo to stabilize here and to control this ridiculous early aggression. Being able to answer the Mana Soul student as well. I believe there's a lot of these Nami decks are running heavy metal as a one-off. So if that's the case, Shunpo very fortunate to drawing it there because it was an excellent answer to a very threatening unit. Ionian Hookmaster being drawn there for Alan. Much better talk deck here for Shunpo with the Twist of Fate. Undying. Main deck Undying. Am I missing something? It's a main deck Undying. And is that a thing in Nami?
I don't believe so, but it looks like it's the case here for Shunpo, unless that card was generated. The hand, though, the difference here, Mogwai, is...
Oh, no. It was the Warden's Prey. Yeah, the Warden's Prey generated. Yeah, I was really confused. I was like, wow, dude, meta.
Well, comparing the hands, Mogwai, that's the big thing I want to touch on here.
Yeah,
Two Nakaguros, infinite draw. You have TF as well. You have Nami on the board already. You have Krusty Krogger as well. Coming online, so I'm not sure if Alan's gonna have a way to in any way fight for this game at this point. 16 HP still on the Nexus for Shunpo, very far away from any kind of surprise lethal at this point, and the hand is not really doing Alan much favors. Essentially trading away board for burn, which in this case is just not quite effective enough considering there is so much HP on the Nexus.
The back-to-back double troubles really shut him down. It was a solid opener. You had Legion Rearguard into your Boom Crew rookie, and then the Mana Soul student could have dealt quite a bit as well. But Shunpo has had a very easy time stabilizing, and if he's able to continue to not take a bazillion damage, this hand will most certainly drown him in value. Got Coral Creatures. You have Eye of Nagaporos, which was just played right now to spawn another potential blocker. I like Coral Creatures here a lot. It just technically costs 1 mana and gives you an extra resource, or you can just go for the double trouble and just go wide completely. That also works.
Especially seeming as Alan, you can maybe tell by his hand, by the plays not being made here, that he doesn't really have much to work with. The hand might be a bit awkward, and Shunpo wants to take advantage of this, wants to try and already cement himself on the board, get some value here right away with the full board of attackers ready to go, or of units to buff for the next open attack.
That's the thing about Nami. That's why Nami is, I would argue, the strongest champion in the game right now. There's a certain point in the match in which if you have stabilized or you have survived and she levels up, then all of a sudden you're just going to be generating these monstrous amounts of stats, spreading them out throughout your entire board, and you don't even need elusives to just overwhelm the opponent, really. Nami goes down, the attune triggers the level up, and ladies and gentlemen, I think this game is done. That's Nami. We're going to be seeing a lot of her today, folks.
Well, she will be the target for many bans, as she was in the open round. Statistically, took, I think, a whole heap of bans when she was in the lineup for either player, and that's gonna be the turning point.
Alan knows.
I think, the writing on the wall was quite clear a few turns ago, even with the opening for Alan, the hand he had as well. It's not a hand that would allow him to get back into the game. And for Shunpo, the exact opposite. We saw just all the different types of cards that can refuel his hand, that can have him fight into a very, very long game, which is what Nami does so well with pretty much every card either replacing itself or drawing a card or just generating stats, as you're mentioning. It's a very versatile deck that has also the option to become a threat in so many different ways, with elusive, with just big boards, but also can answer so many different threats from any opponent's lineup.
Because of the Tailstones. Like, if you're playing Ionia, the Ionian Tailstones. If you're playing Shadow Owls, the Shadow Owls Tailstones. Those are very good. They provide a lot of... The Shadow Owls one is particularly strong with Nami because it can lead to a lot of damage with the Mark of the Owls combo, or it can just be used to remove something, right? To answer a threat. It's just extremely flexible. And the only issue that the deck has is not dying to early aggression, pretty much. And with cards like Double Trouble, as we can see there, even a deck that's purely designed to end the game quickly can fall short. And we're going to see here, Versailles Disciple normally attacks as an opener, but in this matchup right here, they're preserving it in the back row instead to not have to pay 2 mana to redeploy it for the sake of cycling through the deck, because value is not the name of the game here. The name of the game here is tempo, being able to keep up with what your opponent is doing. So you use this Versailles Disciple as a way to block into that Legion Saboteur. And if you're Shunpo, you wish Alan would go for an open attack here. But Alan, you know, that's a world champion right there. He's not going to play into that. And instead, he's going to open Ionian Hookmaster, going to get the Shepherd's staff thing. You know, the stick hits him in the head. It's really, really painful. And as you can see, it makes her quite beefy. A 4-3, 4-2. Can't block, but you don't really care. You wanna push damage. Now, action on curve doesn't feel as good because you don't want to be blocking with your action. But you may be forced to.
Certain decks having a preference for starting attacks on even or on odds. Obviously, for things like Lurk, attacking on odds, attacking on turn 1 is very crucial. In the case for Akshan, it's attacking on turn 2. So here, a little bit of a bad luck moment for Shunpo without the attack here for Akshan right away. But still, next turn, you can do it. But now, of course, there's the can't block due to the Shepherd Staff onto the Hookmaster, which means that you will be able to attack right away with Akshan if you choose to. And you have the Absolver as some backup, but of course, you want to use that much, much later in the game.
Lee Sin
has been drawn. This is a problem many times in the past for Lee Sin decks, not actually drawing the Lee Sin. Yeah. So at least that has been checked out of the way here for Shunpo.
The double deny is a little bit, it's going to hold Shunpo back a bit, especially in conjunction with that Absolver. There's 3 cards in hand. I mean, 1 deny is good to have. You know you're going to need it eventually. 2, you'd rather have other resources now. Now, because there's not really much going on in Shunpo's hand for the immediate moment, you will attack with Versailles Disciple because you are going to carry over spell mana. You're going to be able to redeploy it, and you need to cycle through your deck. And
awkward hand here for Shunpo, though. If he doesn't have a unit for this next turn, this could be devastating in terms of the hand that Alan's able to put forward now. Two units can be dropped here for 4 mana. I'm imagining the Solari Sunhawk will be one of those with Daybreak effect right away, can stun Akshan and have 1 less blocker available, and really the only block in this case. Or it could just be double Touch Speaker trying to go for
he wants that action. He wants to force the action to trade. But I mean, considering you have a Boom Crew rookie, but the thing is, like, if you have action, you want to be blocking into something a bit beefier. So I think Solari Sunhawk was definitely worth considering. But the fact that it stuns Lee Sin on curve and Shunpo is attacking on odds is a good reason to keep it there. So I think double Tusk Speaker is going to be the play here at this point. After we saw the first one, it's easy to assume the second one is coming down as well.
Big top deck. Eye of the Dragon for Shunpo.
Oh, yeah.
About missing some presence on the board against a deck that can be very aggressive at times that AlanZ is bringing here with the Annie Jin. That will definitely help out in having much more of a presence the next few turns, especially at least until this Eye of the Dragon goes down, if it goes down.
I think we are going to see an Absolver. I'm surprised we see the Darkened Bloodletters first, but now we should see the Eye of the Dragon go down, and we're going to be seeing a premature Absolver being played here by Shunpo. You need to do it because you need the second spell to enable the Eye of the Dragon. It can also help one of your units survive and exchange. I like Eye of the Dragon onto Absolver onto Eye of the Dragon. It allows you to trade into Tusk Speaker and survive. And you're not really expecting cards like Ravenous Flock in this particular Noxus variant of a deck. So you trade there, you trade the Vestayan Disciple, he's a little bit confused, but he needs to take 1 for the team. And then this Eye of the Dragon gets the Absolver boost, trades into the Tusk Speaker, and you take 5 damage, which you're going to be able to recover some of next turn.
Talking about deck lists, we haven't had a chance to see the deck list in the asset before this match started off, but in the list for AlanZ, despite the nerf to Decimate up to 6 mana for all our aggro enjoyers out there, 3 copies of it still being run in this deck for Alan.
3 copies of what?
Decimate.
Of Decimate, yeah. 6 mana Decimate. Still alive. At least Shunpo does not have to worry about that. He doesn't have to worry about the burn. But the Mana Soul Student, low-key, represents a huge threat. Because it's pinging in multiple instances, right? So Deny doesn't really work out against it. If you have Random Negation, that's a different story. But it's going to be stacking up quite a bit of damage here. We see Momentous Choice. Is it going to be applied onto the lifesteal? Ooh, with the level up.
A little bit healthier. Trying to level up Akshan as well, get that extra bit of damage.
Noxian Fervor, though. Gonna need to keep that mana for Deny. As long as he does. We're gonna see a Predict here. Ionian Tailstones I really like. Gives you healing. And Homecoming in a pinch. Yep, there it is. And now an attack. Very good turn by Shunpo here. Gonna get back to 12 health.
To get that Momentous Choice online for the extra life steal, just to make sure you're at a further range, because you don't know how long this Eye of the Dragon is going to survive for. You don't know what exactly your opponent has planned. You want to try and get this life steal on the Eye of the Dragon, on the Dragon that's currently on the board when you can, and try and make use of it right now.
This is not good for Alan. This is really bad. He really needs this Noxian Fervor to go through, and now the double denies that we were, seemed like a bit of a detriment early on, are going to come in extremely clutch here. Gonna get it back to 12, and he still has a counter, not only to a Destiny, but also to like a very key stun, for example, that could set him back. Like there's just a lot of stuff that he can shut down. He has that Lee Sin ready. He has the health potion enabled that will enable the Eye of the Dragon and the Palm.
And once you have this set up for Shunpo, where you have your Akshan still alive, you have your Lee Sin ready to go, and you have the mana to play him and also still have defensive capabilities alive, and you have the Eye of the Dragon, you're just looking for more utility. You're looking for more ways to answer threats your opponent might develop to try and end this game. And Concussive Palm is a perfect thing to draw right here. You have Deny to stop any big spells from coming in, or any spells overall like the Noxian Fervor or Decimate possibly. And you have Palm to stop what could be a scary open attack, or a scary attack overall from Alan.
Yep. I know I'm being a bit of a Captain Hindsight here, but like I was saying earlier, I was concerned about the Annie Jin being brought. I've heard a lot of players just reach the conclusion that it was arguably one of the worst performers in the qualifier. Was present in a lot of lineups and did not really, it didn't really succeed too much here. And we're seeing Alan bringing it against decks that are supposed to be relatively weak to it. And they're just having not too much of a hard time stabilizing against it. And once they do, you're just done. It's over. Like if you have not ended the game by this point, it's all downhill or uphill from here. What's the expression?
In the open rounds, looking for data from the APAC region and the EMEA region, actually, Anijin had a 52% win rate, so not terrible. There are worse performing decks. Lee Sin Nami was at 54% or almost 55 for reference, and it was banned quite a bit as well, Anijin. So it's a deck that people had on their radar as a possible problem, depending on the lineup, and didn't perform too badly. I mean, not obviously a stellar performance, but better than I expected, maybe at 52%.
Well, I'm like the European players that I follow, like that's again, I don't have the actual data. It's just from my own perspective, like what people were saying about it from people who brought it. There seemed to be a lot of discourse revolving around it. So maybe it's one of those things, right? Like you can curve out extremely well and just overcome anything. But from what we've seen these two games, it's definitely falling a little bit short. I love the Mana Soul Student edition. But man, at this point, it feels pretty done. Yeah. Like how do you finish this?
Similar to last game, just running out of really anything to try and contest the game plan of his opponent, to try and develop his own game plan going to the later rounds. Just runs out of fuel too quickly, despite the board being okay, despite the Demolitionist coming online here. It just seems like you're too far away. 8 HP is more than enough, and you have health potion, you have the Dragonling, or the Eye of the Dragon still alive. Lee Sin levels up now as well. The three champions are here for Shunpo: Akshan, Lee Sin, and Eye of the Dragon.
This is today's tournament, ladies and gentlemen. We're seeing a lot of kicks, a lot of kicks, and a lot of fishes getting huge. That's the Ionia way. Mana Soul Student gonna get kicked out of class. And this is a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. The world champion, despite a great game one, is going to succumb back-to-back with the Annie Jin deck to Shunpo, who, goes to show that, this lineup is here to stay, and it's hard to counter, Panda. Because this is the world champion attempting to counter the lineup, and it did not work out. So we'll see if there's other approaches at that strategy, or if we're going to see more of this particular lineup throughout the tournament. But this is going to be series one, in which the former world champion will be knocked out round one, and Shunpo will advance to the top 16.
And this is how cutthroat these tournaments are. 3 HP now on the Nexus for Alan. I don't think there's really any miracle draw that can save it here, considering the hand, considering the health potion coming online now onto the Nexus. 11 HP now for Shunpo. deny for anything, deep med to draw even more cards to keep the Dragon Link activated as well for the next turn. This turn you have it as a blocker to heal as well. I mean, you have a stun coming in from Alan, but really it's just not enough. And the Annie Jin, is this a deck that you want to put all your eggs into that basket when you're trying to go for a world qualification spot, trying to advance to those top spots in this
it's risky.
top cut?
It's risky, and the risk, you know, sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. And in this case, Annie Jin falls short, and Nami, the meta, essentially reigns supreme as Shunpo will take it right here. We're gonna see a concede from Alan soon, because you know he knows well when he's not one to give up prematurely. Like he always plays until the very end, but when he knows it's the actual end, he'll get out of there. And at this point, with that denied backup, all these combat tricks of a Stein Disciple being drawn that allows them to continue cycling, there's just absolutely nothing that Alan can do here. He can play the stagehand to stun the Lee Sin, but that can be denied. With one card left in hand, I would deny this, honestly. I want to end the game, and I know that, yeah. This deny, like, you don't have to worry, like, oh, they have a Decimate? I have 11 health. Spent 6 mana for that, yep. That's all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. Alan eliminated, and Shunpo advanced to the next round. And we're going to see a lot of this Ionian Master Race just taking down the counter lineups.
And Shunpo also just one of the strongest players in ladder in terms of win rate, in terms of just one of the most dominant players in the past few seasons. He's really hit fantastic form coming into this tournament, coming into the last few seasons as well. So a tough matchup for Alan, but really any matchup in this first round is going to be tough. As you mentioned, this tournament is so stacked. Everyone you're facing is pretty much a player that has been to a million top cuts already, or a player that you know as one of those beasts on ladder that's always going to be in those top positions. So this is the thing. Seasonal top cuts always going to be cutthroat tournaments, always going to be disappointing for some viewers that, you know, are cheering on for a specific player, because one bad matchup, one bad lineup, 2 games in a row where Alan didn't have maybe the best of hands coming into those games, and it's over. That's the end of the dream for Alan.
I think at this point it's safe to assume, like, with such a stacked top 32 and how these players are all like at the very highest level, and there's not much difference between them in regards to skills, right? They have different play styles, preferences, and sure, some shine better under pressure than others, but ultimately it comes down to 2 things: preparation and also just not getting too nervous and succumbing and misplaying your sequencing as well. But the sequencing from all these players are going to be top level. So a lot of it's going to go down to what they decide to bring. Sometimes, you go a little bit out of your comfort zone. Sometimes you risk it more, and sometimes less. And ultimately, we've seen huge gambles pay off when it comes to lineups in the past, but we also seen them fail. And today, we've seen Annie Jin up to a bit of a rough start. I don't think Annie Jin is the deck that will perform or take this tournament. I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, I don't think it is. And I do feel like it's going to be rough to counter the Nami Lee Sin split, right? The fact they're not being played together, they're going to 2 different decks. They're packing in a lot of power from not only Ionia as a region, because we're seeing a lot of variants with Shadow Owls, but also just from their nature of their combo, and the fact that once the game reaches a certain point, there's very little that beats them. So it's going to be interesting.
We're going to a very quick break. Hopefully going to be able to fix up any of these small production and technical issues we've been having throughout this first round. We're very sorry to all viewers at home. It was confusing for us, so I imagine for viewers even more so, but hopefully everything will get ironed out. We might have to restart the stream due to some of these technical issues. So if that's the case, just refresh and we'll be right back for round 2. As we mentioned, always going to be on time. 2 p.m. CET will be the next round, and then 1 hour after that. In 1 hour increments, we'll have every future round, and we'll have a chance to see the bracket as well, Mogwai, and see what players were already eliminated.
Yeah,
you mentioned 32-16 after just.
I mean, we're only like 30, but like there's still like a lot of games that are going. Like this is a pretty quick series actually. So but we'll see who goes through.
Go to break, and we'll be right back very soon. Don't go anywhere.
To restore this legacy is my greatest honor.
There's so much to learn. How will I know when I'm ready?
Even as a so-called master, there is so much I do not know.
Ah!
Good. A clear mind. Blade and mind, honed and sharp. Concentrate, June. See the